Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Rachel Klein and I will be your presenter here for the next 20 minutes. Today we are going to be talking about making corrections in the donations module. So there's two places that corrections can be done. The first place is in browse donations, and then the second place is in posted batches. So I want to show you or point out the differences, and if you need to make a correction, which screen is the screen that you need to utilize to make that change. Okay, so we are going to go over. All right, let's go ahead and get started here. So like I mentioned, you can complete corrections two different places. You can complete a correction in posted batches, or you can do it in browse donations. So where you go to make those changes in your database greatly depend on what specifically needs changed. Okay, so that's what I really want to focus on today. Let's go into posted batches first. So up here at the top under donations, you're just going to click posted batches. The posted batches window is designed to show you every batch that has been entered into the software for the year so far. So this is training data, so if you look at your posted batches screen now, you're probably going to have a lot more dates in here because it encompasses the whole year so far. Okay. But something to keep in mind, this screen right up in the top left says correct or reverse batch after posting. Okay, so those are the two things that you are able to do in the posted batches screen. Now, when it says correct or reverse a batch, this means you are changing the batch as a whole here. Okay, so if you find the donation date of the batch in its entirety is incorrect, or if you find you put the wrong batch code on a batch and that's incorrect, the entire change for the batch as a whole happens here in posted batches. If you find you need to just reverse the entire batch because it's wrong, that is done here as well. If you have certain transactions that need changed, that isn't done here. That's what has to be done over in browse donations. Okay, so that's going to be that is the biggest change between the two. Posted batches is only going to allow you to make changes to the batch in its entirety. Okay, browse donations is going to allow you to make changes to the specific or individual transactions. Okay, so let me show you here. Let's highlight this batch I entered the other day. Once the batch is highlighted, down here at the bottom you have a reverse or you have a correct. If I hit the reverse button, it is going to take my batch, my entire batch from 12/11, and it's going to reverse the whole thing. Okay, let me actually grab a different one. So let's look at this one from the January 30th. If I follow this line over to the right, it tells me how many entries or how many transactions make up this batch. You can also hit the little plus sign to see the details if I wish. But this batch as a whole, if this date is wrong, I can do a correct batch button. And that's going to allow me to change the batch date occurred for all 11 transactions, okay? Or say I put the wrong batch code on, or I just forgot to input the batch code I needed, it's going to allow me to adjust that here as well. So you can only change two things about the batch in the correct option, okay? Then once you make your change, you can tell it, okay, I need to transfer this over to accounting. So say you changed the date and you need to correct that date over in accounting, okay, and transfer is then going to pull up the transfer to accounting screen to allow you to transfer that if you feel you need to, okay? Now, reverse, if I hit the reverse button, this is going to take all 11 entries from my batch on the 30th, and it's going to allow me to reverse all of them in one swoop. Okay, so if you find this whole batch is just wrong and you need to take it out, reverse it for the original date occurred, which is most commonly what you're going to do. You have the option to put in comments if you wish, and then you can do an OK and transfer, which will then open the transfer to accounting screen. If you don't use accounting, simply an OK will suffice. All right, so biggest takeaway from posted batches. This is where you go to make changes to the batch as a whole. I do get calls where people say, you know what, I entered 50 donations and I had the wrong donation date. Do I have to go through each one and correct the date for every single transaction? No, you don't. You simply come right in here and posted batches and you can make that change as a whole, as all the transactions that make it up. Okay. So that's posted batches. Now let's talk about the difference. Let's go over to browse donations, which you can get to right here or up in the top left. Browse donations gives you your transactions, okay? They're organized by the person or the giver who made the transaction or who made the gift, okay? So if we come down here and hit these little plus signs, it's going to expand and it's going to show me each transaction that this person has given within the date range, within the year. Okay, so if you find you have one gift that got entered for the wrong date, or you have one gift that needs reversed because it's just wrong, or something about it needs corrected, that has to be done here in Browse. You can't do that over in Posted Batches. Okay, so any of these transactions at this point can be corrected on an individual basis. Okay, I hope that's clear. So for example, if we look here for Mel, we can find this transaction on 220. Let's say I just need to reverse it. It's just plain wrong. I need to get it out of the database. I can do the reverse an NS button up here off to the right. Similar screen. I'm going to reverse it for the original date occurred of the transaction. You do have some advanced options if you want to pick a different date. Typically, I would say 99% of the time you're going with this option. If you want to put in comments as to why you're taking it out, which is always helpful, you can put that in, and then OK and transfer will reverse it, and then open up the transfer to accounting screen if you need to send it over to accounting, and then there's the OK if you simply want to just reverse it in donations. All right. Now, let's talk about making a correction, because making a correction gives you a lot more options. So let's highlight this same transaction again here for Mel, and I'm going to hit the correct button. Now the correct button is going to allow me to go in. Oh my word, this screen is huge. Hold on one second. Sorry, I didn't realize it was going to be so large. I'll have to reset my screen. Let me reset my screen sizes. So here's an extra little tip. If you ever open a screen and it is giant, you can go up into Windows and you can go to Restore Default Sizes and Positions and then agree to reset them, and that's going to take all of your screens and put them back into their normal size. So let's go back in and check on our correct screen and see if that did the trick. Much more manageable. There we go. Yeah, so anytime your screens get kind of goofy like that, go up to Windows and go down to that Restore Default Sizes and Positions. All right, but here's the correct screen. So this screen is going to allow you to go in and make any changes you need to about this specific transaction. Okay, so if you find the date is wrong for this one, or the giver is incorrect, you put it on the wrong person, the amount is incorrect, payment method check, anything on this screen or anything you would have utilized when entering the donation, you can correct here in this correct donation button. Okay. So with that being said, once you change what needs to be changed, you hit the Save Donation button or you do the Save and Transfer. That makes the correction and then opens up the Transfer to Accounting screen if you want. Okay. So I know not a lot of really new information here. If you've watched any of our webinars on the Browse screen about doing corrections or the Posted Batches screen, you should really know how these screens operate as a whole. But what the goal of today was to point out where you go to make a correction when you need to. Okay, because we get that call a lot. Josh and I do specifically. You know, if someone calls and says, I entered a batch wrong and I need to make a correction, I'm in Browse and I can't, how do I change it for everything? Well, that you'd go to Posted Batches. But if you find you just have one transaction you need to fix or a couple gifts that make up a batch that need changed, that has to be done over in Browse. Okay? All right. I hope this was helpful for you guys today. I know it was kind of short and sweet, but I feel like it was something that we never really talked about in a webinar before. And I think it's helpful specifically at the end of the year while you're going to be going through and making some changes or doing some corrections on people's donation statements. This is a really handy tool to know where to go to make the changes.